Apparently, there were no space orc fads coming with their PPB pistols out ready to blast me into submission. Just Urch and a bunch of American soldiers. Breaking into Area 51 could have ended a whole lot of ways, but I hadn't predicted this one. Urch, looking predatorily dapper in his Confederation uniform, gave me an affectionate clap on the back, while Colonel Rage and the soldiers watched nervously. "Urch!" I shouted. "Man, it's good to see you."
"You as well, my friend,"
Urch said to me, making wild gestures as though that would somehow make his meaning clearer.
"I like your planet."
"It has its moments," I told him. Urch looked at me funny, and it occurred to me he hadn't expected me to understand him. He'd been talking to me for his benefit, not for mine. Now, he was going to have questions, and I wasn't sure I had answers. "Listen up, meat boy," Smelly suddenly announced in the inside-your-head equivalent of a shout. "It is imperative that no one from the Confederation know about me. They might attempt to remove me from your head, with knives and burning lasers, and the damage to you would be irreversible. It wouldn't be good for me, either, but since you are inherently self-absorbed, it is in the interest of your survival to keep me a secret." I did not want anyone cutting and burning things out of my head, so I figured it was a good idea to follow the advice.
"All right," Rage said gruffly. "You two are pals, that's terrific. Now, we have a few things to discuss, so if Reynolds is done tearing up our base, let's go find some place to sit down." He turned to one of his soldiers. "And find the kid some clothes or something. I don't like chaos, soldier. Or looking at underpants, for that matter."
"Yes, sir," the soldier said. We were escorted into an office whose walls were covered with shelves, containing stacks of documents, each bound by tape marked classified. The space had a slapped-together industrial feel, but even so, it was large and well air-conditioned, which I appreciated. Breaking into a legendary military base and destroying a supersuit was sweaty work. Before I could sit, a soldier called me out of the room and handed me an olive-green t-shirt with a U.S. Army insignia on it and green uniform pants that were several sizes too big. I looked like a kid playing dress-up with his father's clothes, but it beat the shredded wetsuit and visible undies. The colonel sat behind a wooden desk, while Alice, Gicanto, and I were invited to sit. Colonel Rage had somehow acquired a steaming cup of coffee, which he seemed to enjoy sipping. It was, after all, the middle of the night. A hot drink sounded great, and I hoped someone might offer me a hot chocolate, but no luck there. Urch continued to stand, but he appeared excited in a good way. He kept opening his mouth to show his sharp teeth and thrusting his tusks upward as if he were disemboweling an invisible antelope. I knew him well enough to understand that these were signs that he was happy, but the others... And then it suddenly occurred to me, neither of them had ever seen an alien before. I looked over at Alice, who was staring in undisguised shock. "He's an alien," I told her, keeping my voice quiet, like it was some sort of secret. "He comes from another planet."
"Yeah, I got that,"
she said, her eyes practically doing cartoon spirals behind her glasses.
"You were telling the truth about everything."
"Of course I was telling the truth," I snapped, feeling a little hurt. "Did you help me break into a government facility because you thought I was making it up? Or crazy?"
"It's one thing to trust somebody,"
Gicanto said, also staring at Urch,
"and even to completely believe them, but it's another to actually meet an alien, especially one who's so scary."
Urch sighed. "Time to make sure that we're all on the same page," Colonel Rage began. "As you can see from this alien creature here," Urch waved hello, "your friends from the Confederation have sent an envoy. I know you've been eluding us for days. It's a good thing we figured out where you were headed. We only got here in time to keep you from completely wrecking the place." "I don't get it," I said. "If you're here, Urch, why did my mother signal for me to run?"
"She made an honest mistake,"
Colonel Rage said, looking more than a little exasperated. 5 dark sedans, escorted by several local police cars with flashing lights, pull up to your house. She feared the worst, especially with false reports of flying saucers showing up all over the internet. It took us a while to convince her that we weren't out to harm you.
And after that, she couldn't get in touch to clear things up. You'd already ditched your phone, which was the right thing to do, by the way, if you believed the bad guys were on to you. If you hadn't tried to break into a government facility, I'm not sure how long it would have taken us to find you.
Okay, I said. Why's the Confederation looking for me?
You and your friends altered many things, Zeke, Urch explained. You set a great number of changes in motion, and not all of them good, but while I have many grievances with how things are going in the Confederation, I cannot argue with the most significant difference. The Fadic ships you and your associates captured were examined, and the secrets of their weaponry discovered. Our own ships have been upgraded with this technology, and since then, every military advance the Fads have attempted has been pushed back with no loss of Confederation life. Their civilization continues to exist, of course, and the worlds they have captured remain in their power, but the Fadic Empire's ability to conquer and grow has been brought to a halt.
This was big news. In spite of our setbacks, it turned out that everything we had done had mattered. I'd risked my life, my friends' lives, and even my father's life because I believed that giving the Confederation a Fadic ship would save lives, including those on Earth. To learn that in spite of Junip's threats, the stolen ships had been put to good use made me feel like it had all been worth it. We had turned things around for the Confederation.
Why is that alien growling at us?
Alice asked. Oh, right, you can't understand him. I turned to Urch. I don't suppose they can get translation nanites, can they?
There can be no unauthorized distribution of nanites,
Urch said, looking at me a little intensely.
Seems the Confederation has rules about that sort of thing, Colonel Rage said. I'm serving as liaison, so I let them shoot me with those little machines, though I can't say I much liked it. But I need to be able to talk to this creature here. As for your friends, we don't want them knowing more than they have to. These people have already become security problems, and the less information they have, the less they can spill.
So, what are the bad changes? I asked Urch.
You may recall that Chief Justice Junip wanted to return the cruisers to the Fads by alerting the news outputs, however. You effectively forced his hand in preventing him from surrendering the ships.
I nodded.
Instead, he took credit for their capture. He has risen to Under-Director of the Committee of Grand Oversight, which governs all other committees. In effect, he is now the second most powerful being in the Confederation.
How can anyone trust him? I asked. At best, he's a gutless weenie. At worst, he's working with the Fads.
I agree, Urch said. But he knows the political game, and he has played it extremely well. As a result, he is widely regarded as a hero. Most beings would identify him as the mastermind behind the raid you and your friends led on the Fadic prison. Others may have done the actual physical labor, but it was Junip who captured the two cruisers and prevented the Fads from getting a hold of some ancient form of technology that would have changed everything.
He didn't do any of those things, I said, reeling with anger. Whatever Fads had the tree activated in their system were probably working 26 hours a day to acquire levels and master new military skills. The Confederation was resting easy, but it probably should have been gearing up for war because that empire, as soon as it was ready, was not going to hesitate to strike back.
There's more, Urch said. In rising to power, Junip decided it was time to eliminate some old enemies. Captain Quassel has been dismissed from her post in the fleet, and I have been reduced in rank. We have been punished for our testimony at your hearing.
I couldn't believe it. Big, lumbering Captain Quassel, with her trunk and hammerhead shark eyes, was a great captain and an even better friend. Getting rid of her just because she told the truth at a hearing, a place that you are required to tell the truth, was completely unfair. I shook my head. There was nothing to say that wouldn't trivialize what Junip had done.
Do not think to blame yourself, Urch said. You cannot be held responsible for how dishonorable beings respond to being outplayed.
Still, The captain loved her job. She must be miserable.
There are many options for a being with her knowledge and experience, Urge said. She was unhappy, and no one likes to suffer injustice, but I can assure you she has found new purpose. I fear things are even worse for your old friend Dr. Roop.
I sat up straight now. From the moment I met him, Dr. Roop had done everything he could to look out for me. Even before I met him, the giraffe-like being had been my father's friend, and he'd worked to help bring me to the Confederation. After my father was captured, Dr. Roop had gone on to bring in the randoms who would help me save my father, Steve and Tamret. I felt like I owed Dr. Roop everything, and the news that things had gone badly for him hit me hard.
Roop is, in my view, an honorable being, but there is no doubt that he broke Confederation law. His role in selecting the specific randoms to participate in the initiation program was discovered, Urge continued. Peace officers were sent to arrest him, but he fled. I'm afraid Dr. Roop is now a fugitive, his whereabouts unknown.
That doesn't sound like him, I said. He struck me as a face the music sort of being.
I agree. On my world, and I suspect on yours, fleeing from the authorities is common among the accused, but in the Confederation it is virtually unknown. Beings accept the consequences of their actions without complaint. Junip has stated that Dr. Roop was corrupted by his exposure to primitive species. This is the song he sings, along with his Movement for Peace, an organization that seeks to eradicate the influence of primitive and carnivorous species.
What do you mean, eradicate the influence? I asked.
Beings believed to be too primitive are being dismissed from government positions. Had I not had a personal connection with you, Zeke, I would have never been sent on a mission of this importance, not when my species is so widely regarded as savage. The Movement for Peace hates violence so much that they're attacking violent species in the street.
The Movement for Peace is attacking and hurting peaceful beings because they're too inclined to violence? I asked.
Urch grunted. It is exactly that stupid.
Gets messy when the good guys don't behave like the good guys, Colonel Rage said, shaking his head.
The Confederation remains a fair and just place,
Urch assured Colonel Rage.
I would not serve it otherwise. The Movement for Peace is not a controlling voice in our political system. The anger towards primitives is a minority position, though I see it growing faster than makes me comfortable.
I shook my head. Okay, that's a whole lot of bad news.
It's not all bad. While Junip is your bitter enemy, Glee Wixix, director of the Committee of Grand Oversight, feels otherwise. The second most powerful being in the Confederation may hate the smell of your entrails, Zeke, but the most powerful being recognizes exactly what you have done for us, and she is grateful.
I don't think I've met this Glee Wixix. I'm glad she likes me, but I'm guessing you didn't come all this way to get my autograph.
Glee Wixix is on board my ship, Urge said. She has chosen to come here herself to escort you back to Confederation Central.
Okay, this was interesting. All I'd wanted since getting back to Earth was to return to the Confederation, but now that I was being offered the chance, I found myself growing suspicious. Why do they want me? Urge grunted.
I do not know, but the director understands what you have accomplished, and you have impressed her so much. She believes your presence on the station is vital to the future of the Confederation.
I had no idea what this director might hope to get out of me, but I wasn't going to worry about that right now. All I needed to know was if I was being set up for some kind of trap. You're my friend, Urch, and I know you wouldn't sugarcoat it. Can I trust her?
I believe you can. I have voted for her in every election. I know she and Junip were once friends, but they have publicly broken ties. She has always behaved honorably for a politician. If she says she needs you for something important, then she believes it to be so.
Wow, I said, thinking things through. The fact that you vouch for her goes a long way. But if I'm going to put myself in her power, I'm going to need certain things before I agree to anything. I'm not going to hold out for a payout at the end. I've been burned by Confederation politics before. I'll meet with this Glee-Wixix, and I'll do what she asks of me within reason, but only after I get what I want. That's the deal. And she can take it or leave it.
Glee-Wixix is a politician, Zeke, but she's not stupid,
Urge said. Meaning what? I asked.
meaning
A voice said from behind me.
the director figured you'd say something like that.
The person who'd spoken came into the office. It was my father.